Hello and good morning, friends. Welcome to the CEC-UGC live lecture. Dear friends, with our ongoing series on business organization, today we would be discussing in detail on staffing, recruitment and selection. And for this discussion, we have once again with us in our studios Dr. Vijay Vrataria. Dr. Vijay Vrataria is Assistant Professor in Department of Commerce, Bhagat Singh College, University of Delhi. Dear friends, Dr. Arya has immense experience and we believe that his experience would definitely help us out in understanding today's topic in detail. Dear friends, your questions are welcome in this live session, and if you want to ask questions, do call to us at 1-800-11-0430. This is our toll-free number. You can contact us, but you are requested to call us at the last 10 minutes, that is at 12:20 to 12:30. So let's welcome our guest, Dr. Vijay Vrataria, and let's try to understand today's topic in detail on staffing, recruitment and selection. Hello sir, welcome to the DSET lecture.
Thank you, Geetika. Today we will be discussing the staffing, that is one of the important managerial function of the human resource management, and within that two important processes, that is the recruitment and selection, we will be discussing in detail. So to begin with, let me have some of the important corporate cases that has recently came out in 2016 and 17, which have reflected the this recruitment, selection and the staffing process highlight. One of the important one was the recent one, when this Trump effect enforces to hire 10,000 in US over next 2 years. One of the key news clipping. Another is the Amazon, IBM and 8 other big companies hiring for high paying jobs like crazy right now. The other news was PwC India to hire 4,000 people in financial year 18 in areas of data analytics and cyber security verticals. Snapdeal to lay off 600 employees, Feb 2017 news. And another is the India's biggest ever layoff, L&T sheds 14,000 employees from its workforce, that is Economic Times, November 30, 2016. Like many others, Microsoft as well has lays off 1850 employees as it quits its Nokia phone business experiment. And the another news was top 7 IT firms including Infosys, Wipro, Cognizant, the US based firm, HCL and Tech Mahindra to lay off at least 56,000 employees this year. So if we just make an interpretation of these news clippings, so we can make a conclusion that it is based on the kind of phenomena, that is the economic phenomena. It may be the skill based phenomena, the demand, market demand. It may be the costing effect, it may be the profit margins and many other areas. So we can refer some of the key areas which are basically the news analysis interpretations which have come out of these few news clippings of the corporate houses. And the last we can conclude based on these some of the cases is that staffing, the key HRM function, is well involved and crucial for all of these above cases, because the bulk hiring is a result of new avenues and potential market opportunities. At the same time, the hiring and the layoff is taking place simultaneously, like as we have seen in the case of the Infosys, which is taking off the layoff as well as the hiring, that is on two different fronts simultaneously. So with this particular set of background, we can start discussing about the managerial function of HRM, which is the base. Within that, one of the major function, that is the staffing, can be discussed in detail. So apart from that 5 managerial functions of HRM, post DC, that is planning, organizing, staffing, directing and control. The staffing is the key and the crucial one because it emphasizes on the recruitment and the selection process of the human resource management, which ultimately has to be given the referred the directing function through which the orders and instructions can be passed on to the employees, and subsequently the control management can be taken care for the better response from the employees and better performance for the effective utilization of the human resources. The another metrics of human resources in terms of the demand and supply of human resources need to be referred here to better understand the kind of phenomena that is taken care. So in this particular case, a matrix has been shown here. On the upper part, the supply of HR is quoted, and the left side, the demand of HR is quoted. So when both these variables are at the high end, it means the supply of human resources at high and the demand of human resources is high, then these three possibilities will be there, that is the selection, the placement, and the promotion will take place at a higher pace. But at the same time, when the supply of human resources is low and the demand of human resources is high, then there are two possibilities, that is the internal possibility and the external possibility of recruiting the human resources. In terms of the internal the possibility of staffing, the training and development and the compensation will be two modes, two processes that will take place in terms of hiring new people or the existing people, promoting them or giving them training so that they can be better absorbed or can better perform in the organization. The other way out is the external possibility or external source in which the recruitment will take place. The recruitment is from the external sources. The third part of this matrix could be the supply of HR when it is high, but the demand of human resources is low. So that will lead to the kind of layoff, demotions, and basically the retrenchment, early retirement of the human resources just to cut short the cost of the company. But at the same time, when both the aspect, that is the demand and supply of human resources is low, then there is a possibility that the focus of the organization could be on the training and development to change that area, to be changed in order if the demand is expected in future. So that area will be referred to. Now based on this, we can now have a limelight basically on the staffing, what exactly this staffing means. So we can refer a process, this staffing, as a process of filling positions with adequate and qualified personnel in an organization, or in other words we can refer it is a process of acquiring, retaining and deploying the quality and quantity of human personnels to create a positive impact on the organization's effectiveness. There are some important definitions given in the case of staffing as well. McFarland has given staffing, one of the definition given by him. Staffing is the function by which managers build an organization through the recruitment, selection and development of individuals as capable employees. The another important definition given by Kuntz, Donnell and Hans is that the management function of staffing is defined as filling position in the organization structure through identifying workforce requirements, inventorying the people available, recruitment, selection, placement, promotion, appraisal, compensation and training of needed people. So in both these definition, it has been pointed out that the people have been deployed, the people have been identified based on the needs of the organization. Now based on these definitions and the past experiences of the staffing process, we can refer some of the important nature of the staffing which play a key important role in terms of understanding the staffing process. The first of the important nature is that it is a key managerial function. It is as important as any other managerial function, that may be planning, directing, organizing or say the control. Second nature of this staffing is that it is a continuous activity. It is ongoing process. It is throughout the life of an organization due to the additional requirement, transfer, retirement, promotion or maybe any other economic activity may take place. So therefore we can say it is a continuous process, continuous activity. The third nature of staffing is it is a universal activity. It takes place in all type of organizations, whether it is the small organizations, it is the large organizations or any other sort of organizations. It is universal in nature. The fourth nature is placing right person at the right place. This is the objective of staffing as well. So in this particular case, the best person is referred and they are basically posted at the right place where his functionality can be referred as such. The fifth nature of staffing is the efficient management of personnel. There is a high level of coordination within the staffing process. Therefore, it includes recruitment, selection, placement, training and development, compensation and the career development as such. Therefore, this is highly efficient management of personnel. The another aspect within the staffing is that it refers the employees as well as the employee environment, where we can refer the kind of the flow the employer will be referring as well as the applicant will be referring. So in the case of employer, we can see that there will be certain vacant positions or the new positions that may take place. Subsequently, the generate candidate pool through recruitment process will take place. Subsequently, the selection process will be there to evaluate the best candidate for the best fit. Subsequently, the impressed candidate will be selected and the offer will be made for the job offer. At the same time, the applicant, that is the aspirant candidate, will be referred based on his qualification and experience. He will be absorbed, he will be searching for the job openings, he will apply for the job, he will try to impress the company upon his different experiences and qualification. He will be evaluating the job and companies based on the priority, like which one to join, and subsequently the last act done by the applicant or the aspirant would be to accept or reject job offers, maybe multiple in his hand. Then subsequently we can refer the essential components of staffing. That is, two different essential component is there, from the applicant centric, that is the job seeker, and another is the organization centric, that is the job provider. So in both these cases, both these elements, the recruitment will take place in the first go, which is the process of identifying and attracting the large pool of candidates. The second process would be the selection, which is basically the assessment and evaluation of the existing large pool of candidates referred through the recruitment process. And the last would be the employment, where based on the selection, the finally selected candidate will be referred, the decision process will be taken care, where the candidate will be selected and they will be offered the job, and once the job offer is accepted, they will be absorbed in the organization. Based on this, we can refer some of the important aspects of staffing, why it is so important for the organization. Then number one point in this particular reference could be, it is a tool to achieve organizational objective, because this is interrelated with other managerial function. Therefore, it is used to achieve organizational objective as a prime importance. The second is the basis of strategic human resource management. Whenever we are referring the strategic human resource management, it is the staffing which play the important role, and subsequently the recruitment, selection, training and development, orientation, compensation and other aspects. Third important aspect of staffing is that it develops human capital. Human capital is developed in terms of the skill oriented, experienced staff that prove to the organization as an asset for the organization. The another importance is that it is a long term effect, because this is not a short term effect. The organization efficiency is taken care by the human resources. The efficient or the skilled human resources play important in terms of the long term objectives. Next importance is the effective training and development. For all trained and need based human resources, training and development play an important role in terms of the staffing process. The another importance is that the better coordination take place in terms of maintaining the employer-employee relation. That is another important part of human resource management. Next importance of staffing is that it is effective recruitment and placement provisions are taken care in this particular case, so that the higher employee morale can be raised. The next is the utmost guarantee in terms of human productivity. It ensures that particular aspect, and therefore these are some of the important importances of the staffing process. Now we can refer the staffing system and the retention management in an organization, how they are interlinked, how they are the kind of process take place. So initially, if we refer the vision, mission and objective of an organization, it may have two set of strategy. One is the organizational strategy, which is the main or the core strategy, the overall strategy of the organization, and at the same time it may have the HR staffing strategy, which emphasize on the HR staffing processes, including the staffing, including the recruitment and the selection. Now these two different strategy align together to emphasize on the staffing policies and various programs that may include the training and development program as well. Within that, staffing support activities are the one which emphasize on the legal compliances that the organization has to take care. The second is the planning phase. Third is the job analysis and the rewarding. And at the same time, the core staffing activities which are linked within the staffing policies and program are the recruitment, the selection, and then the employment, which basically emphasize on the decisions related to making the final selection of the candidate and the matching with the job requirement and the candidates available in the open market. There are certain factors which affect the staffing process which we need to understand in detail. Therefore, there are two set of factors which affect the staffing. One is the internal factors, where the kind of technology used in the organization, the top management support, whether they are supporting or they are into the possibility where the new job seekers can be referred in this particular case, the future plan of an organization where they are into the expansion mode or they are into the any other policy or approach they are supposed to adopt can be referred in this particular case. The another internal factor in the staffing is the promotional policy of an organization can also be referred in this particular case. And apart from that, the organization image is also important. Internal factor of affecting the staffing is there. At the same time, these are the factors which are highly influenced and internally driven within the organization. At the same time, there are certain external factors which are not in the control of the organization but highly driven by the economic conditions, the political situation in the country, the market forces, and etc. So we can refer like the first is the competition in the market for a particular sector, for a particular organizations or the segments is the most important external factor. Second is the labor laws. Third is the educational standards. If they are high, then there is a higher possibility that the new job aspirants will be higher in the market. Fourth is the technological upgradation. If there is new technology available in the market, then the existing organization with obsolete or the outdated technology cannot survive for a longer period. The next is the social political pressure, where the political interference, the socio background is highly taken care, that is the external factor while affecting the staffing process. Then there are two set of strategies adopted by the organization in terms of the staffing process. One is based on the staffing levels and another is based on the staffing quality. When we talk about the staffing levels, it is highly based on the numbers, that is the quantity. At the same time, staffing quality is highly driven or focusing on the quality parameters of hiring the people. So we can have some of the strategic decisions adopted in both the aspects. If we talk about these staffing levels, then initial one is the acquire or to develop talent. So in the case of acquire, the new hiring will take place, or in case of develop talent, through the training, through the development, the existing talent can be enhanced or identified. The second aspect in the staffing level is the attract or relocate. When we talk about the attract, the new the kind of entrance, new human resources can be identified, can be attracted through the recruitment process. At the same time, relocate is somewhere where the rearrangement, the locations, the kind of postings can take place to serve this particular set of objective. The another is to the core or the flexible workforce. Next is hire new or retain existing. That is the internal or maybe the external sources can be referred in this staffing decision making policy. Next is the internal or external hiring. Next is national or global hiring. In the case of national hiring, the domestic human resources, the nationals of that particular country will be referred. When it is matter of global hiring, the international or the foreign nationals will also be referred in this particular case. Overstaff or understaff, this staffing policy is also important. Then the self-hiring or the hiring through the external agency, that is the outsourcing, can also be part of this staffing levels. And last in this particular case is the short or long-term focus. If the organization is having short-term horizon, then initially a limited number of hiring can take place, but if the horizon of the company or the organization is long term, then keeping in mind the market conditions or job opportunities, in fact the business opportunities, the long term focus is there, and therefore the hiring can be for a better number of positions. At the same time, when we refer the staffing quality aspect in the strategic decision in staffing, then these are some of the 4 important decisions taken care. First is the person per job or person per organization match, which is something a kind of proportion that per person what can be the share of his involvement in the job or in the organization, the kind of responsibility he is required to be given. The second is specific or general quality is required. Third is the exceptional or acceptable workforce quality, and last is the active or the passive diversity of the human resources. These are some of the staffing quality that need to be referred at the time of making the decision or the strategic decisions for the staffing. Then we have these 8 set of staffing processes. Initially it is the HR planning, subsequently the recruitment, or its vice versa is the decruitment. When the recruitment is not there, then the decruitment can also take place at the other end. Then subsequently the selection is there, orientation take place. Whenever the new hiring is there, then they will be introduced, they will be inducted with the kind of information about the organization, about the know-how, about the code of conduct for the organization of that particular employee need to be taken care. Then the training and development part, how it will be taken care, how the productivity, the performance can be improved, how the skill can be enhanced in a particular employee, that need to be taken care in this particular case. Then the performance appraisal, which is a continuous process to assess a particular employee, a staff member, based on the standard and the actual benchmarking and what exactly the kind of performance of that particular employees. To have a comparison between the two is basically the part of performance appraisal. Next is the compensation and benefits, that is the rewarding aspect, and next is the career development, that is the ongoing process, a kind of development in the human resources, wherever the kind of objective is required to understand where the kind of possibility the upgradation is required is taken care in this staffing process. These are the 4 important staffing policies which generally take place whenever the international staffing process is there. So we can discuss each 4 in this particular case. The first is the ethnocentric policy, which emphasize the home country's culture. It means the headquarters strategic decisions are applied on the subsidiaries which are lying or which are basically set up in the other foreign countries. In this particular case, the other feature is that the headquarter personnels, that is the home country persons, will be at the key positions. They will be holding the key positions even in the case of the subsidiaries in the foreign countries. The another is the polycentric policy. In this particular case, the MNCs adopt to the local culture needs of subsidiaries. In this particular case, the home as well as the host country, both cultures are taken together, although the top level decisions, that is the parent company nationals, hold the key positions just to maintain the kind of overall administration and the power with them. The third type of staffing policies in the international staffing is the regiocentric approach, regiocentric policy. In this particular case, the emphasis on the regional strategy and structure, and the regional interdependence is there, although the employee mobility within the region is allowed, but not on global front. The last is the geocentric policy, which is somewhere the globalization is impacting. In this particular case, the global integration approach is adopted. In this particular case, the nationality is ignored over the individual ability and performance. Last but not the least, this is consider each part of organization towards unique contribution. As far as the outsourcing of staffing is concerned, in some of the IT firms categorically, there is outsourcing taken care where the employer is referring the external agencies who is basically the one of the key person, or sometimes we refer the staffing specialist So these are some of the steps, some of the processes which are adopted in the outsourcing of the staffing. The first is the develop relationships with the employer to understand business needs and culture. Subsequently, sharing of available job opportunities by the employer with the staffing specialist. Subsequently, the staffing specialist will generate job description. Further, identifying qualified talent with existing resume database available with the staffing specialist. Subsequently, select top candidates and schedule interviews, and that interview will be conducted in coordination or in alignment with the employer. Then select right match for the job, and next is, that is the second last step, is to preparing selected candidate as per employer requirement. Wherever the kind of training or the consultancy is required, will take care. And last is providing ongoing career support to employee. Whenever the kind of career support, career development is required, at that particular time the staffing specialist helps the employee. So this is all we have referred in the case of the staffing process. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, viewers. Today we will be referring the recruitment and the selection process, which is part of the staffing. And in this particular case, we need to understand the concept of recruitment. As we have referred in the case of the staffing, it is basically one of the important or the managerial function of the human resource management. In the case of the recruitment, the idea is to have a gathering of the information that is the large pool of applicants, and subsequently that large pool of applicants can be provided subsequently to the selection process where the end selection can take place. So let me have the concept defined here for the recruitment. It is locating, identifying and attracting capable applicants, and it has been defined by Edwin Flippo that it is a process of searching for prospective employees and stimulating and encouraging them to apply for jobs in the organization. Some of the importance of recruitment which is highly relevant in today's context as well as that it ascertain the present and future requirement of an organization in relation and context to the personal planning and job analysis. It is basically to attract and encourages more and more candidates to the job market and basically for applying to the organization. It is important in terms of creating a talent pool of candidate to enable the selection of best candidate for an organization in a specific position. It increases the possibility and the success rate of selection process by decreasing number of visibly underqualification or overqualified job applicants. It also set interlinkages between employer and employee. Based on this, now we have to understand the concept of job analysis, which is the key before the recruitment process. It is the process of obtaining all relevant job facts, which include determining duties and responsibilities to be discharged. The other is the observing and recording the various tasks of the job as they may actually performed in an organization. The third fact is that job analysis is often done through interviews, direct observation, or by using a questionnaire that is completed by the person currently holding job and his immediate supervisor. And therefore it emphasizes two different aspects. One is the job description and another is the job specification. Now we need to understand the merits and demerits of job analysis. There are set of advantages, that is job analysis provide first hand job related information to the organization. It also has the advantage of in terms of establishing effective hiring strategies. It also has a impact, that is positive impact in terms of deciding in compensation and benefits for different set of employees. It also provide a analyzing training and development needs for different personals in an organization. It also facilitate in terms of continuous guiding through personal appraisal. It also helps in creating right job employee fit provisions in an organization. At the same time, this job analysis is somewhere criticized in terms of some of the disadvantages and the demerits. Some of them is that it need to apply lots of human efforts. It is not as simple. A lot of skill is required. Job analysis require a lot of appropriate skills. It is time consuming process. It is a mental ability that may directly observe, that is bit difficult in such cases, and it may involve personal biasness because ultimately the human resources is involved in this job analysis process. Therefore it may be based on personal biasness. Then the other demerit is limited source of data because only limited internal source is available. So in the case of job analysis, the external sources if referred can give a better result. We need to understand the difference between the job description and the job specification. Job description is specific to the objective of job, the type of work and the duties need to be performed by an employee. At the same time, the job specification is a summary in terms of the education and skill required, that is the desirable as well as the mandatory one. So we can have the important aspects within the description. It may include the job title, location at which the posting will be made, the job summary, what kind of duties need to be performed, work to be performed, the nature of the work, the supervisory nature or the managerial nature of the work, the working conditions, whether it is the hazardous or non-hazardous. Then apart from that, the job specification will refer the educational requirement, experience requirement, training need, the physical effort need to apply, the responsibilities need to be taken care, the skills, specific skills required for a particular position, and the emotional characteristic of the human resources. Apart from that, the recruitment process need to go through different steps which we need to understand. The initial one is the identifying the vacancy, subsequently prepare job description and job specification, which we have discussed just last, the job advertisement, subsequently the managing responses. These two are basically for the purpose of attracting potential employee, and the last three is shortlisting of applications, arranging job interviews, and arranging ability test for decision making. These last three are the one which emphasize the third stage, which is arranging selection platform. Then we have two different important sources of the recruitment. One is the internal sources, which in this particular case the internal references, internal sources, the internal cases are referred. For this particular case, the external sources are not at all referred to. And subsequently there are some external sources of the recruitment are also, which may include the advertisement, employment exchanges, job consultant, job fairs, the placement firms, the outsourcing agencies, the website services, free and fee paying websites, and the company website. And in the case of internal sources, the two very important sources are the data bank of former applicants who could not qualify but have the database as such with the lying with the company, the retired employees, the former employees who have left job in between due to some reasons, and the references from the present employees are some of the internal sources of the recruitment. Then we have the important factors which affect the recruitment process. Again, we have divided them into two different factors, the internal factors and the external factors. As far as the internal factors are concerned, demand and supply of a skill, unemployment rate, labor market position, the organizational image in the open market, the social political factors which also include the reservation policy of the state or the government is also taken care. As far as the external factors affecting the recruitment is concerned, it may include the HR planning concept, the cost involved in terms of the recruitment, growth and expansion plan of the organization, and last but not the least, recruitment policy of the organization is also the important factors in the recruitment affecting cases. We have apart from that three different strategic decisions which are taken care in the case of the recruitment process. The first is the HR planning decisions. It basically give emphasis on three different set of questions, like how many employees needed, when they are needed, and any specific or special qualification required in terms of hiring them. The other type of decisions required in the recruitment is the strategic recruitment decisions, which need to emphasize on these set of questions. First is where to recruit, the internal process of recruitment will be there, or the external recruitment process will be taken care. The other is who to recruit, the flexible staffing, the options available in this particular case, and nature of job requirements. These specific questions or set of points need to be referred in the strategic recruitment decisions. And the last nature of decisions are basically recruiting sources and the methods which will be referred. So in this particular case, the kind of advertising choices and recruiting activities need to be referred. Then as far as the internal sources of recruitment are concerned, they have some set of merits and demerits. We need to refer each one. In the case of the merit, the advantage part, it is cheaper and quicker source to recruit, because in this particular case the external sources need not to be referred as such. And in this particular case, the familiarity with business is very much there, because it is the internal resources which will be referred in this particular case. The motivating channel, it highly motivate the existing employees because they may be promoted, they may be higher recruited to a better positions, to a better choice of segments, and the knowledge of strength of weakness of a particular employee is very much there with the existing employer, because they are referring the internal source of recruitment. It has some set of demerit as well, because in this particular case there are limited applicants available, because in this particular case only the internal sources of recruitment are referred, not the external sources. So whatever internal source of applicants are referred will only be referred as such. Lack of innovation, no new idea can be introduced from outside the business, because there are limited number of applicants with limited knowledge. And the third disadvantage is resistance from non-selected ones, that may cause demotivation and disliking amongst candidates which are basically not selected in the recruitment process. At the same time, we have the external sources of recruitment, which again have some set of merits and demerits. We need to refer them as well. It has one advantage, that they are having some set of people which are having new ideas. Then the wider choice is available, because now the external market or the external sources of recruitment are referred. So new employees, new aspirants can be referred in this particular case. The vast experienced people can have a better option to be referred to. The possibility of high skilled workers is also come in this particular case. Then when we refer the demerits, the limitation part, then it is time taking process, because again it has to go through the kind of selection process where the external sources will be referred. It is time taking. Then it is expensive, because it will take a lot of advertisement cost, interview expenditures, etc. And the last limitation is that it cannot give a foolproof guarantee that the best candidate will be selected from the external sources. Now we have 4 important evaluation program that emphasizes, that evaluate the existing recruitment provisions, policies of the organization. First is the applicants quantity aspect. In this particular case, it emphasizes, it try to find out like what kind of the large pool of applicants have been generated or not. The second is the applicants quality. In this particular case, it need to be identified. This particular aspect try to determine the qualifications of applicant pool are sufficient or not, whether the applicants meet job specifications or not, whether do they have performed the jobs well after hire. The third aspect is the yield ratio. In this particular case, the kind of comparison of the number of applicants at one stage to the recruiting process to the number of the subsequent next stage is find out. The last is the cost benefit analysis. In this particular case, the cost incurred in terms of hiring, that is running the recruitment process, is identified, which may include the direct cost and the indirect cost. The direct cost can be the advertising, recruiters' salaries, travel agents or say agency fees, or say telephone expenses, as well as the indirect cost may include the involvement of operating managers and the public relations, etc. Now we can start discussing on the aspect selection, which is subsequent to the recruitment. Recruitment provide the kind of large pool of human resources that can be referred to at the time of selection, and therefore selection we can define as a process of assessing candidates and appointing a post holder to ensure that the most appropriate candidate are hired. Del Yoder has given definition of selection as the process in which candidate for employment are divided into 2 classes, those who are to be offered employment and those who are not. This is the some of the important differences between the recruitment and selection. It is based on the meaning. Recruitment is locating prospective candidate, while selection is evaluating and hiring. The objective of recruitment is encouraging a large number of candidates for the job, but in the case of selection, it attempts at rejecting the non-relevant or the unqualified or the unsuitable candidates. The process of recruitment is simple, while the selection is complicated. The hurdle in terms of the recruitment is too much, which is less in the case of the selection. The approach is positive in the case of recruitment, which is negative in the case of selection. The sequence is such that recruitment comes first and selection comes subsequently, the economical method is recruitment, while it is very expensive in the case of the selection because a lot of cost involved in this particular case. In the case of recruitment, it take less time. In the case of selection, it take more time. And the last but not the least, the skill oriented case. In the case of recruitment, high skill not essentially required, but in the case of selection, high skill is essentially required. We have to again refer the important selection processes. The first is the application form screening and preliminary interview. Subsequently, the selection test may be there. Then the employment interview is there, which is the detailed interview. Subsequently, the reference and background check is there. Selection decision will be taken care in consultation with the higher authorities. The medical examination will be referred, and then in these initial 6 steps or the processes, if at any stage the candidate is not found suitable or unsuccessful, he is straight away rejected. But after the medical examination, when the candidate is found to be suitable or can be referred to, the job offer will be made, and subsequently once the job offer is accepted, the employment contract can be signed with the aspirant. There are some important key tests which is referred in the selection process. The ability test, which is basically performed in terms of whether that particular candidate can relate the job, say typing test for secretarial job, aptitude test to understand or to measure the capacity or latent ability of a particular applicant. Subsequently, the general knowledge in terms of the knowledge of the current affairs, the intelligence test, that is the mental ability, numerical ability, and the memory sharpness. The next is the interest test, that is liking and disliking of the candidate, job knowledge test, medical test, perception test, that is belief and attitudes, which is generally referred, especially in the case of the retail sector. Personality test is to judge maturity in social and interpersonal skills of the aspirant, and there are some other set of tests. Now we can refer one of the important aspect in the selection process, that is the interview. It is basically the information gathering and a kind of from the candidate in terms of to find out whether that particular candidate is suitable or not. So Scott and others have defined interview as an process or purposeful exchange of ideas, the answering of questions and communication between 2 or more persons to make a judgmental decision whether that particular candidate is suitable for the job or not. These are some of the types of interviews. The preliminary interview, that is before the selection, the initial level, just to understand that candidate is fit for the next level or not. Stress interview, the depth interview, which is a detailed one, analyzing the candidate's history in detail, which take a lot of time and generally referred at the time of selection of the top management persons. Then we have the patterned interview, which is well structured questions. Then we have the unpatterned interview, which is based on the candidate's responses, the questions can be raised subsequently. Then we have some set of group discussion, which is again a kind of interview phase where the kind of skills, the kind of communication skills and the kind of inner views can be find out. Then we have the next essentials in employment contract. These are some of the important aspects, variables that need to be there in the case of the employment contract, which may include the position title, salary grade, say the start date and the end date if the kind of contract is on temporary basis or the temporary employment is given, the holiday arrangement, the kind of leave arrangement, that is the medical and other work rules, prohibition periods and the associated conditions. It may include the disciplinary procedure and the code of conduct that need to be taken care. Then the hours of work, including different say overtime, shift arrangement and the lunch break facility, the timing will be referred there. The length of notice due and from the employee side, that need to be referred, like say 15 days notice need to be given or something like that. Then we have the required notice of end of employment, including early cancellation of term appointment and say special terms which could not be quoted earlier can also be referred. So this is all about the selection process, and this is we have already discussed a lot of thing about the staffing in the initial phase, and subsequently the recruitment and the selection aspects, the essentials of these two, and this is all about this particular topic today. Thank you.
With this note, thank you, sir. Thank you so very much for giving us a deep insight into the topic where we discussed about staffing, recruitment and selection. And we request all our friends that if you want to ask a question from Dr. Vijay Brataria, you can contact us right now through our toll-free number. Our toll-free number is 1-800-110-430. This is our toll-free number. And dear friends, if you have any problem in asking a question in English, definitely you can ask a question in Hindi also. आप अपने प्रश्न हिंदी में भी पूछ सकते हैं. So sir, as we are discussing and we have discussed a lot on staffing, recruitment and selection, and in the present context, if we see many of the multinational companies, what they do, they ask their employees that if they have a suitable candidate or their friends, they can apply to a certain post which has been generated within the organization, and if the person gets selected, the employee get incentive of that. So what kind of recruitment is this?
This is basically a kind of referencing, and this is more justifiable because it is more authentic source, and that more authentic source is the existing employee. And in this particular case, it is incentive based as well as recognition based, because if the reference is not given to a suitable person and later on it has been found out that the person is not suitable for the post, then this may somewhere can dent the image of the existing employee who has given the reference. Therefore, this is very particular, very important decision taken care at the time of employee.
So we can say that it is one of the recruitment policy.
Yeah, this is one of the recruitment policy provisions there. This is recruitment part basically.
Sometimes it is also seen that the jobs are not displayed on the open platform and they are displayed internally. So is this a new method of recruiting the employees?
No, especially when the kind of number of vacancies are less, and the company doesn't want to place a kind of costing occurring for this particular cases, and it is expected that through the job posting on the website or maybe internal referring to the existing employees will be sufficient, then obviously the company will go through that. Apart from that, there is a cases when the outsourcing for the consulting agencies who are into the recruitment process are also referred. So that is just to trim the cost of hiring, that is cost of making the recruitment process, because the moment you are going for the selection process and the external sources need to be referred, it is highly costing based. Therefore, for the sake of making the margins or just to limit to the cost of recruiting, these are some of the new methods.
With the passage of time, we have seen the interview processes has also been changed. For example, X is sitting in one part of the country and the company is in the other part of the country. Now through teleconferencing, through telephone, the interviews are taken and the person is selected or not selected for the another stage. So what kind of this provision is? Does it gives the company the accessibility to reach the right candidate at the right place?
Yes. As far as the globalization is concerned, we are not restricted to a particular place, particular region or say country. And this particular term that you are referring is called the cold calling. In this particular case, the kind of teleconferencing or say the Skype or any other medium of the internet based telephony is referred, where the aspirant are referred, contacted, and they are inquired, their interest is inquired. And the idea of getting information is that the time can be saved. Rather than physical mobility, the person can be contacted at their own comfortable place. And the idea is just to inquire, just to understand his capabilities, his skills, and the kind of testing possibilities and the suitability of that particular candidate. So this is something the innovative way these days corporates are referring to.
We have seen that there are other provisions also. For example, we have seen that walk-in interviews are very prevalent these days. So this is also a company's policy to get recruited or to get someone in the company within a period of time, or they are lacking the staff. So is there any kind of, we can say it is also a part of their recruitment provision?
See, generally walk-in interview is a situation where the existing employees are leaving the organizations. At the same time, the new skill oriented job market is open. Therefore, the company try to explore the new skill oriented employers, and therefore this ongoing walk-in interview process keep going, and therefore you will find that in a month some new aspirants are hired, and subsequently in the other month, or say after 1 quarter, they are leaving the organization. At the same time, the new skill oriented the aspirants are hired for the new skill based requirement, and this is the case generally happens in the case of the IT companies as well as in the export houses.
So these are the questions which I have asked on the part of you, dear friends, and I believe that you might have also some questions which are left unanswered. So if you are not able to call us direct, then you can ask your questions through our email ID. You can contact us and we will try to give answers to your remaining questions when next time Dr. Vijayvrata Arya visits our studio. So dear friends, you can give your feedback for the particular lecture, as well as you can ask your question pertaining to this particular lecture at info.cec@nic.in. This is our email ID where you can contact us. And dear friends, this lecture is going to be uploaded on YouTube very soon for you. So we request you to do call us in our live sessions, as well as do write to us through our email ID. And yes, your feedbacks are very, very important. So dear friends, we would be meeting again very soon and would be discussing on another topic under the series business organization. Till then, take care. Goodbye. Thank you, sir. Thank you so very much.